often ask ourselves as guitar players, how do I break out of the box when soloing? And if you haven't asked that yourself yet, you probably will one day, and maybe even one day soon. The box I'm referring to is shape 1 of the pentatonic scale. Looks something like this. We're in E major today, so I'm playing this example in E major pentatonic. Also looks like C sharp minor pentatonic. In fact, it is C sharp minor pentatonic. But since our backing track is in E major, I'm going to call it E major. So we have major going with major. So how do we break out of the box? A lot of times we think more scale shapes, right? I need to learn more scale shapes. And that doesn't really help us break out of the box so much as it does give us other boxes to get trapped in. Breaking out of the box really happens when we start learning our scales on one string, going this way instead of up and down over multiple strings. So that would look something like this, the E major scale played on one string. Right? From E to E. Now, let's back up for 1 second. When we say major scale or playing our scale on one string, what do we really mean? What do we really mean by major? And the major scale really is just a series of particular distances from note to note. So here's what I mean by that. If E is our root note, like we said, the major scale is created by doing this pattern. Go up a whole step, which is 2 frets on the guitar, another whole step, a half step, which is 1 fret on the guitar, and then another whole step, whole step, whole step, another half step. So that's the pattern to memorize. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. That creates our major scale. And it's really easy to see on one string if we understand what half steps and whole steps are on the guitar, either 1 fret or 2 fret. And if we visually get that into our memory, it becomes really easy. Easier than actually doing a scale shape. Right? There's a whole bunch of other different strings. They all look a little bit different. This is just one string, played at a time, playing that pattern up and down the guitar neck. That's our one string scale. Now, we can move that over to any other string, but we just have to find our appropriate root note. So here's E, the 5th fret on the B string, same pattern applies. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And I can keep going. I can go down and get all that stuff accessible on that string. As long as I understand where the root is and building that pattern on either side of the root note. I can do it on the G string. And so on and so forth. You want to do this, you want to try to play in whatever key you're practicing in, all of the 6 strings, really 5 strings because our E string is repeated. All the same frets apply for that one. You want to do this over any sort of key that you're playing in, and you'll start to pick up on the patterns. The pattern, or the space that your brain will eventually get to, is instead of thinking whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, you'll just start thinking in terms of scale notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And, to infinity and beyond. That is where the number system comes into play. And then you can start to recognize that between 3 and 4 is a half step, and between 7 and 1 is a half step. That's where we want to go. That way, when we're on different strings, there's the 3rd, half step to 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1. It becomes a lot easier when we're thinking in terms of those scale numbers. So now, after you've played it and got it under your fingers a little bit, the thing that you want to do to really help you get out of the box is improvise, but only using one string at a time. You want to try to make music with this. So you don't want to just play the scale up and down. We don't use that when we're soloing anyway, typically. So we don't just want to do that. We want to try to make music with it. Right? So now, this is what it might sound like if we are soloing in a musical context with a backing track. Check this out. Great, so after you've practiced that, soloing on one string at a time over all 6 of the strings in a bunch of different keys, might take you 6 months, might take you a year, might take you 2 years, might take you a week, who knows, however long you want to spend doing this and trying to build this into your vocabulary. Step 2 of this gets really, really, really good. So if you've gotten adept at playing musically on one string, then add a second string to your allotted vocabulary. So what I want to do here is actually probably just use 2 adjacent strings, E string and B string. So a second ago we had the B string, E major scale, a lot of notes. The B string, E major scale. So now I can use both of those together in this practice improvisation. Great. So after you've been doing that for a while, soloing on 2 strings at a time, you start to notice these miniature positions come up in your playing that have really been built organically from thinking this way instead of, from shape to shape. Stuff like all this stuff is just within those 2 strings. So that's where you're going to want to live for a little while and try to get the most musical use out of those 2 strings. There's a ton of stuff there. And then when you start implementing this over the other strings, so we did E and B, and then G and B, and then D and G, and then A and D, and then E and A. When we start doing that, then you'll really start to notice your position soloing start to kind of mold together with this idea of single string soloing, and then you will have the entire fretboard pretty much accessible to you with all of these very fluid transitions, and it'll open up your playing a lot more. It'll feel really, really, really good to play. It'll just be open all over the place around there for you. So that is the method. So I hope you found that useful and you implement some of those ideas in your own practicing routine. I'm going to put a diagram together of the E major single string scales that you can download from my website for free. Just follow the link below in the description and you'll see it there. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.